What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the mid-season 1 update for Call of Duty Vanguard is now live. This actually went live quite a bit earlier than expected yesterday. And so in today's video, I'm going to be going through and breaking down all of the changes in great detail. I'm not just here to read the patch notes for you guys, I'm going to be showing you guys exactly what changed with everything that I can reasonably cover here. And the first thing to mention that I'm not going to get into a ton of detail with in this video, because I'm going to have a much more dedicated video soon. This is the addition of the brand new SMG, which is the Welgun, and in order to unlock this SMG, you have to get 10 kills while aiming down sight with an SMG in 15 different matches. And this is going to be a 3-shot kill weapon, assuming you're hitting an upper torso shot, with a very good fire rate, and it actually appears to have the fastest time to kill potential in the entire SMG category in this game at 182 milliseconds. So it's already looking like this SMG is going to be pretty crazy, but like I said, I'm not getting into too much detail with this. I will have a gun guide coming out for that within the next couple of days. But now let's move on to the update and what actually changed with this update aside from that addition. The first thing they mentioned in the patch notes is there's just several stability fixes apparently, so packet bursts should be a little more rare at least. Also, a lot of the various crash errors that a lot of people were experiencing, those should have been resolved as well. Then with spawns, it looks like there were just a bunch of adjustments to spawns. However, not across like all game modes and all maps or anything. It's mainly just on the smaller maps and then domination on dome. And then there were also spawn adjustments for control. And then on top of that, there were just a bunch of weapon and equipment bug fixes. So various camo challenges that weren't unlocking properly or things that were just appearing wrong, maybe invisible, stuff like that. All of these sorts of things are just stuff that I can read out of the patch notes, but now let's move into the actual balancing changes that we saw. And the first thing here is the M1 Garand got reduced recoil, and this was a very significant reduction to our recoil. As you can see here, there is still a decent amount of visual recoil with this, but your point of aim barely even moves with this now, which is great. This is a massive reduction and a massive improvement to the M1 Garand. As for the next gun that was changed, this is the Type 99. And with this one, they reduced the flinch when shot, which unfortunately I didn't have pre-patch footage of this, but it looks like it's just standard flinch at this point now with the Type 99. I believe before this update you had even more flinch than normal. They also reduced the aim down sight time on the Type 99 from 541 milliseconds down to 498 milliseconds, so that is a very noticeable change, although it's still quite a slow aim down sight time with that. And also with the Type 99, we are able to retain a one-shot kill potential for chest shots when using the smaller caliber ammo, whereas previously you had to get a head or neck shot with that, so that's going to be a lot more viable for you. As for the next sniper rifle, the 3-line, this one got a reduction to its aim down sight time from 649 milliseconds down to 595 milliseconds, so it was a pretty similar change. We get a roughly 55 millisecond reduction to our aim down sight time, which is very noticeable there. And then finally for weapon balancing, with the Kar 98, you can now retain those one-shot kill potentials for chest shots when smaller caliber ammo is used. So again, you no longer need a head or a neck shot for a one-shot kill with the smaller caliber ammo. And unfortunately, that is it when it comes to weapon balancing. A big thing that I feel is really missing here, and I think a lot of people were expecting to see, was shotgun nerfs. And there were no nerfs whatsoever to shotguns, at least not stated in the patch notes, and at least not as far as I can tell based on a little bit of testing with them. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Hopefully with Season 2, we will be seeing some very noticeable shotgun nerfs, or at least shotgun attachment nerfs. After that, when it comes to the hollow point ammo type, they said they've removed the damage range penalties, although in the menus at least, it's still stating that we get a reduction to that, so I don't know if that actually applied for sure. Then when it comes to equipment, the stun grenade got nerfed pretty hard. So the first thing is, in hardcore game mode specifically, the stun grenade no longer deals 20 damage, which is great because you only have 30 health and you don't replenish that health. Stun grenades were just ridiculous in hardcore previously. And it is worth noting in core game modes, you're still dealing 20 damage with a stun grenade when it goes off. However, in hardcore modes, I did the testing for this, and it is now dealing 5 damage if you are within the stun radius when that stun goes off. Keep in mind, this is assuming no direct impact. Now, additionally with the stun grenade, they just nerfed its effect pretty hard too. They significantly reduced how long you're affected by stun grenades. And again, I didn't have any pre-patch testing done with the stun grenade yet when it comes to the duration or anything. But you can see right here, the stun grenade doesn't last for very long. It barely has much of an effect on you in multiplayer, which is kind of interesting. I don't really see much reason to use the stun grenade anymore, because honestly, I don't think this really significantly harms your ability to fight back in a situation. As for the next one, this is the Incendiary grenade. I did the testing with this one. They did reduce the damage on this, and we can see the before and after right here. So pre-patch, we dealt 28 splash damage with the Incendiary. Now it's down to 22. Then, the damage per tick didn't change significantly, but it looks like they've now made it so it caps out at 20 per tick, whereas previously, it would just keep increasing by increments of 5. I don't even know if there was a cap on that because I'd be dead by the time we capped out at 25, but it looks like it caps out at 20 now. And as a result, the time to kill of that, if we don't take the splash damage, if we just walk into an incendiary grenade, it's about half a second slower at 3 seconds. So you've got a bit more time to get through those incendiary grenades now if you're not using one of the counter perks. Next up, let's get into the kill streak changes, which applied to the Mortar Barrage. And the first thing they did is they significantly reduced the duration of the Mortar Strike. Previously, it was about 45 seconds, which is a ridiculous amount of time to cut off a section of the map. That has been cut down all the way to about 22 seconds from the moment the first mortar actually impacts the ground, which is still quite a long time for shutting down an area, but they basically cut this time in half. And also, they reduced the number of mortar strikes per streak that actually hit the ground down to 13. Now, pre-patch, I didn't actually count how many would hit the ground, but now it is 13 mortar strikes that will hit the ground. They also apparently addressed issues where the Mortar Barrage was really difficult to deploy, especially with a controller. And based on my initial test with this, it does seem like it works as intended now. If you just press the button, you will throw down that Mortar Barrage and everything will work just fine. Now, after that, let's move on to the perk changes, and there were some very significant perk changes here. The first one was a change to the High Alert perk. With this, they added a slight delay before that High Alert activates after an enemy is looking at you on your screen. So previously, it would be literally instant. If an enemy comes around the corner or something and they see you and you aren't looking in their direction, you would immediately get that High Alert notification. And now there's just a very slight delay at 300 milliseconds based on my testing. So it's not a massive delay by any means, but it might give you that time to like aim down sight on an enemy at least before they're able to see that High Alert ping and turn on you. So this should reduce the situations where a really quick enemy is able to turn on you nearly instantly. Now that was a minor perk change. Now let's get into the big perk changes. And the first one was to Dauntless. And with this, you now have immunity to fire and burning effects. And this is actual immunity. So you won't take any damage whatsoever from any fire that's on the ground. You'll still take that initial splash damage from like Molotovs and Thermites if they land right next to you, but you won't take any burning damage after that. And on top of this, it does partially counter the Flame Knot, but it's not a full counter, so you will be receiving less damage from a Flame Knot kill streak, and it will take them longer to actually get the kill on you. They have to keep that flamethrower on you for a longer period of time, but you can still die to a Flame Knot, and you also can still die to a direct impact from a Thermite, but not a direct impact from a Molotov or an Incendiary grenade. It's also worth noting this immunity does apply to the Incendiary ammo as well, so you receive no extra damage whatsoever from Incendiary. You're just going to be receiving the same base damage as if that player didn't have Incendiary equipped. So yeah, Dauntless is an excellent counter to fire damage at this point, and I actually really like what they've done with it. The only thing that I think should be done now that we have this fire resistance, I think there should be a little hit marker icon if the enemy does have that Dauntless equipped, so that you can understand why your fire damage isn't killing that player. You'll be able to see that special hit marker and know that you'll have to keep that flamethrower on them a little bit longer in order to secure the kill. So there we go, that's Dauntless. This is an excellent perk for countering fire now. Now let's get into the Fortified changes, and with Fortified, it appears it's actually bugged out currently shortly after this update. What Fortified is supposed to do now when it comes to fire damage is it's supposed to reduce the damage taken by fire by 30%. What we're actually seeing, though, at least shortly after this update, is full immunity to fire. And I mean full immunity. So Flame Knots can't deal any damage to you whatsoever with their flamethrower. They have to melee you in order to kill you, which is a little bit frustrating because that makes Flame Knots completely useless at this point. Also, even a direct impact from a Thermite, if you stick somebody with a Thermite and they're using Fortified, you won't be able to kill them with that Thermite at all. And just like with Dauntless, you can run through any kind of flame damage and you won't receive any damage whatsoever when you are actually supposed to be taking damage, just less than if you weren't using Fortified. It's also worth noting the Incendiary ammo type works exactly the same as Dauntless right now, where you just simply don't receive any Incendiary damage whatsoever. So when it comes to fire resistance, Fortified is currently completely bugged out and it's giving you full fire immunity. But on top of this, another thing that is great to see with Fortified is it looks like they did add a damage clamp, which is exactly what we were asking for, just like with EOD in Modern Warfare. And essentially what this means is from a single explosive, it looks like the maximum amount of damage you can take is 80% of your total health. So in core game modes, you're only going to be taking 80 damage from an explosive, even a demolition charge, which deals a ridiculous amount of damage. You'll only take 80 damage if you're using Fortified. And I also noticed even a direct impact with a Panzerfaust launcher is not going to kill a fortified player. And I do think that is an issue. I think a direct impact should absolutely kill, but if you hit like right next to their foot, then you should survive if you're using fortified. And I also noticed with some basic testing in hardcore, if you're using fortified, those gamma bombs aren't going to be killing you like crazy. I think it requires a direct impact now in order to get a kill on somebody in hardcore using fortified. So that damage clamp does appear to be working in hardcore game modes as well, just based on some early initial testing. I haven't tested absolutely everything because custom game rule sets with hardcore don't apply 100% properly compared to public matches. So there we go. Those are all of the main changes that came with this that are directly going to impact your gameplay. However, there were a bunch of other little bug fixes and stuff that they mentioned here. I'll just quickly blast through them. The first thing is they improved player collision with various map environment elements. They also did a polish pass on the destructible areas throughout the maps. So hopefully there'll be like less clipping and issues when it comes to those destructible areas. Additionally, the objective progression bar will no longer be in the middle of your screen, so this is great news. If you're capturing a flag in domination, for instance, and you aim down sight, you're no longer going to have that progress bar directly in the center of your reticle, which is good news. And then they just fixed a bunch of like UI elements and little bugs and stuff that don't really directly affect your gameplay. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for all of the changes that I've noticed so far going off the patch notes with this update. And when it comes to my thoughts on this update, I kind of have mixed feelings. A lot of these changes are absolutely good steps in the right direction for the game. It's going to make the game a lot more playable. I'm really happy to see a lot of technical fixes as well. Hopefully these are actually improving like the packet burst issue for those that are experiencing that. But on the other hand, I don't want to sound too ungrateful, but we've been waiting a very long time for this big update. We've been going without any real noticeable updates for quite a long time in this game. And I'll admit, I was expecting more out of this update. A few things that I was really hoping to see with this update are some very noticeable shotgun nerfs, or at least nerfs to shotgun attachments like Buck and Slug, for instance, because those are still running rampant and they're completely overpowered. Additionally, I was hoping to see some more widespread changes to the spawn logic in the game, because a lot of the spawns that they targeted with this update were just very specific things on just small maps like Dome, for instance, or the control game mode, but not the general spawn logic. I'm still seeing ridiculous spawn flips in domination that make zero sense, and I just find that to be kind of frustrating, and I was hoping we'd see some more improvements there. And then on top of this, just the quality of this update, where it seems like the changes were just like half measures, for instance, or they didn't actually work as intended, like with the fortified fire resistance, or what we're seeing now is full fire immunity. The fact that they didn't seem to consider a very nice quality of life update that we've had in nearly every other Call of Duty game, where you get a special hit marker if you're dealing explosive or fire damage to somebody with fortified or now dauntless. And also, at least from what I'm hearing, the Panzerfaust challenges, while they have sort of fixed them, it wasn't quite the fix that the community was hoping to see. Now, I'm not fully in touch with the Panzerfaust challenges because I'm not at that stage yet in my camo grind. I'm taking my time when it comes to the camo grind. But apparently, it's still really difficult or like nearly impossible to be completing the camo challenges on that, which must be frustrating for the people that have been waiting for a very long time just to be able to complete that one single challenge that we still haven't been able to complete since the game launched. So again, I don't want to sound too ungrateful here. I do think this was a positive step in the right direction overall. I just feel like with how long we've been waiting, the expectations were higher than what we actually saw here. Now, hopefully they've got big plans for the Season 2 update, which is coming in actually not too long. It's just a few weeks away, I believe. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But that, of course, is just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. What are you guys thinking about this update just in general? Do you think this was a great step in the right direction? Do you think it was enough, or were you hoping for more? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.